A service pistol holstered reportedly fires on its own. Now a whistleblower says USAA's security team is sitting on a ticking time bomb.
And at the live desk, the much anticipated school voucher program is ready to roll out soon. The state just set the rules, what parents need to know coming up.
Families post bond. Judges say they're free, yet inmates sit for days waiting for one piece of equipment. Why a system meant to save money is now making people feel trapped. The recent Homeland Security raid in San Antonio still raising questions. Tonight, authorities confirm even more people were tied to the violent Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua.
And we had a really warm day today. Tomorrow going to be a lot different. We've got a cold surge of air roaring through the region tonight. That's going to send temperatures down in the morning. It's going to be a furry boot morning. We'll tell you how cold it's going to get.
You're watching Fox News at 9, Puro San Antonio.
Well, good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Ashley Paredes. Ryan has the night off, so we're speaking first with Chief Meteorologist Alex Garcia, who's going to tell us about possibly cold weather coming, but at least a little windy tomorrow.
Windy, yes. So hang on to your Christmas decorations because they're going to be down the street if you don't hang on to them. Look at these temperatures tomorrow. We're starting out around 58 degrees early in the morning at 7. Right now, we don't have a whole lot of activity happening, but it is cooler air that's going to be diving southward tonight. It won't bring us any rain. Most of that rain will stay well down toward the south of us. If you happen to be traveling tomorrow, here's the latest on the delays and good flights.
Breaking tonight, the state has just finalized the rules for the much anticipated school voucher program passed by the state legislature, saying this is putting parents in the driver's seat of their child's education. Melissa Vega at the live desk with the very latest. Melissa.
The acting state comptroller saying the rules just released tonight are meant to clear up any confusion about funding and set official dates for schools and families to apply. So the rules saying that students enrolled in private schools or at-risk pre-K students may be eligible for more than $10,000 annually. Students with disabilities may receive up to $30,000 a year. All other students, including homeschool students, may be eligible to receive $2,000. And these rules clarify that families will be prioritized based on adjusted gross income. An IEP is required for students with disabilities to qualify for that additional support. And students in good standing, well, they don't have to reapply each year. Well, two major dates have also been finalized. Private schools and vendors participating will be invited to join the program on December 9th. And the online application for Texas families to apply will begin on February 4th. State officials saying this is well in advance of the upcoming school year. Ashley?
Well, now to a story you'll only see on Fox SA. A San Antonio man lost his job at USAA for speaking out after an officer's service pistol went off on campus there. Now, it happened at USAA's Guard Gate 4 during a routine shift. A security officer steps out of the guard shack and then suddenly his pistol explodes against the concrete. You can see some of that right there. It's one of the number of cases of Sig Sauer PS-320s allegedly firing without a trigger pull. Walt Mesiborski has been investigating the case for months and joins us now with this exclusive report.
This is Security Gate 4 at the USAA campus in San Antonio on March 18th, 2025. Watch closely as the security officer steps out of the guard station. Here it is again.
One of my coworkers, Chuck Soros, came out of the guard shack, and immediately as he exited the guard shack, his gun just went off.
Officer Chuck Searles' service pistol discharged. You can see the concrete explode as the bullet hits the sidewalk.
What was your first reaction to that?
We didn't know what happened.
Matthew Gill was one of the security guards on duty that day.
My coworker had a burning sensation on his arm, and I had a burning sensation on my face, and when I pulled out whatever was there, it was metal. It was a shrapnel.
Gill says their USAA-issued service pistols are Sig Sauer P-320s. He says Officer Searles' P-320 went off without a trigger pull.
Officer Searles said that, man, my gun just went off. And he was like just freaking out, like hands up in the air. And, you know, we We were just dumbfounded. We didn't know what to do.
Gill says he was warned about the Sig Sauer P320 because of a previous incident.
It was mentioned to me when I first got on board USAA that Officer Jones in 2021, his firearm went off and it shot him in the leg.
And Gill says there was a third incident over the summer.
That happened on September 26th on a Friday at the firing range. On the same day they changed out their holsters.
Gill says he tried to raise alarm bells with USAA about the Sig Sauer P320 and the numerous reports of the P320 going off out of the blue. Over the last year, I have tracked 3 incidents in Texas where officers say their P320s went off without a trigger pull. One in LaGrange, Marble Falls, and Houston. Gill says USAA fired him for speaking out about the pistol. USAA didn't comment on Gill's employment, but they did give me a statement regarding the March incident and the incident under investigation at the shooting range, saying, quote, "We have no greater priority than the safety of our employees," and went on to say 2 weapons that were unintentionally discharged were thoroughly assessed by the weapon manufacturer, a forensics lab, and USAA, and no evidence of a mechanical failure was found in either instance. I also contacted Sig Sauer. They told me Sig Sauer stands behind USAA's assertion that no mechanical failure was found with the P320 and that there was no indication of a weapon malfunction. Sig Sauer maintains that the P320 can only fire when the trigger is pulled. We will continue to support USAA in their mission to keep their employees safe and secure.
I would say this is another case of a corporate entity like USAA taking the word of SIG or being kind of cajoled by SIG into determining that it was user error.
Attorney Jeff Bagnell says he saw the videos of the P320 discharges from 2021 and 2025.
I think they both fired without a trigger pull. Having seen the videos, knowing the history of this gun, having litigated these cases for 10 years, it's highly unlikely that both of these officers, or all 3 of them in fact, pulled the trigger while this gun was fully holstered.
And Bagnell says these unintended discharges keep happening.
We now know there's been over 400 incidents of the P320 discharging without a trigger pull around the country. I think we're in 46 states now. And that kind of geographic distribution, it's just not credible to claim that that's user error.
Bagnell says most of these incidents involve trained police officers who are experienced at handling weapons. Since I started covering these reports of uncommanded discharges, several police departments around Texas have pulled the Sig Sauer P320 from service.
A lot of officers are too afraid to speak up because they're afraid to be retaliated against.
Now, Gill hopes USAA replaces the P320 with a new service weapon, so his former colleagues at Gate 4 won't have to wonder if they're next.
Fix it. I mean, it's a good weapon, but it's faulty. There's a fault there somewhere.
Well, there have been concerns about the Sig Sauer P320 accidentally firing for over a year now. The San Antonio Police Department stopped using them in July. New details on the massive and controversial Homeland Security raid resulting in 143 people being detained on the city's north side. Tonight we're learning more than 4 dozen of them were members of the dangerous Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. The raid happening November 16th along San Pedro Avenue near Bassey Road. It was carried out by a newly formed Homeland Security task force specifically targeting criminal networks involved in drugs, human trafficking, and illegal weapons. Tonight, Fox SA has found out just how many people were taken into custody. FBI and Homeland Security investigations releasing tonight the raid carried out earlier this month resulted in the arrest of even more members of the Tren de Aragua gang. They now say 51 confirmed TDA members were arrested. That's up from the original 27 they reported last week. They also say 25 people detained had criminal histories, with 13 having committed felonies in the United States. But there are still many unanswered questions about this raid. Authorities released photos of 7 of the gang members last week. They described these men as some of the worst offenders, but they didn't say what charges they face. They also say 37-year-old Luis Amador Castillo Hernandez was arrested. It's believed he was running the nightclub targeted by authorities in that massive raid and was arrested for selling cocaine to an FBI informant. But Fox SA is still pushing for answers. Today, we reached out to the FBI to ask how many of the 143 detained are still in ICE custody, and how were the 51 TDA members identified, and can any of their names and charges be shared publicly? Right now, we're still waiting on a response to our questions, and San Antonio Congressman Joaquin Castro has several questions for federal authorities as well as he pushes for transparency. In a statement saying, if ICE has nothing to hide from its raid in San Antonio, why did they smash security cameras? Castro added that he still hasn't received any answers to his inquiries, calling the secrecy surrounding the raid, quote, unacceptable. Tonight, we're getting our first look at the man police say stole more than 200 pieces of mail. Now, police stopped Aaron Ledger yesterday evening on the far north side. When officers approached his car, they say they saw a big bag of mail inside with a bunch of tools. When asked about that bag and tools, he did not give an answer. Officers found 239 pieces of mail in his possession. They say several mailboxes were broken or damaged. Turns out Ledger had unrelated active warrants and was arrested. Another man facing charges tonight after he was also allegedly caught stealing mail. Orlando Castro and another suspect are accused of damaging nearly 130 mailboxes and stealing dozens of pieces of mail at an apartment complex near Patricia Drive. Police say they were wearing masks and carrying bags full of mail when officers got to the scene. Police say credit cards, passports, and HSA cards are some of the items criminals look for in the mail. They recommend that you check your mailboxes daily and report mail theft to police and USPS.
Things aren't getting done. You still have people waiting at least 72 hours to get out.
Stuck behind bars even after posting bond. What's causing the holdup and why some attorneys say it's costly and unfair. Holiday travel well underway, and San Antonio among the top destinations in the state. What you can expect at the airport and out on the roads.
And we're looking at a pretty good temperature drop coming our way in the overnight hours. We've got a good surge of cool air coming down. Look at the temperatures tomorrow. We're only running up to maybe 68 in the afternoon after today's high temperatures into the 80s. On top of that, look at the wind gust. This is starting early tomorrow morning into the 20s. It's going to get up into the 30s by the time it's over with. Hang on to those Christmas decorations because they'll be down the road. Meanwhile, that wildfire risk, it's going up.
Are you able to see my shoes? Just because on this dress it... Okay. Is there a way that you can show my shoes just so it doesn't look like the dress is cut up? Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Just look like a little floating, no feet. Cool. Right now, a judge in Bexar County says a person facing nonviolent criminal charges could be sent home with an ankle monitor. But Fox SA looked into it and discovered many inmates are still sitting in jail for days as officials deal with a backlog of cases. Defense attorneys call it a breakdown in the system. Pretrial Services says that's not true. So why the delays? Fox SA's Yami Virgen investigates why some are waiting longer for freedom and what it's costing you.
A judge says they're free to go. Their families post bond, but instead of walking out, they're still stuck. Attorneys say Bexar County inmates, many facing nonviolent charges, are waiting for days to get a GPS monitor to leave. The county official in charge of that GPS monitoring program pushes back hard. She says there's no staffing crisis and the delays are wildly exaggerated.
There's about 1,700 cases, about 1,000, a little bit over 1,000 individuals that we're monitoring.
This caseload is staggering. In just 2 years, the number of inmates released on GPS jumped from a few hundred to over 1,500, saving the county millions in jail costs. Now, with over 1,000 people wearing monitors at any time, defense attorneys say the system is collapsing under its own weight.
After the family or the person who's already posted bond and should be released, they're still staying in days longer than they should, if not up to a week. And the only reason that we've been given is the GPS monitor is taking a long time to get put on.
6 to 7 days, the longest wait Jonathan Chavez has documented for a client the court deemed safe to release. That frustration is shared by former Bexar County District Attorney Nico LaHood, who says his firm now feels forced to issue a warning to all new clients.
There's a claim that there's not enough people working. They're not working 24 hours. I understand there's a defensive claim that says, yes, we do have them. But regardless, I can tell you what we're seeing, and not just us, but other lawyers, is that things aren't getting done. You still have people waiting at least 72 hours to get out.
LaHood also questions if GPS is being overused on nonviolent cases, effectively turning a pretrial condition into an unfair punishment.
Remember, when someone's accused of a criminal allegation, they're presumed innocent.
But for LaHood, the long delays are the punishment, potentially crossing into a constitutional violation. Bond is supposed to guarantee court appearance and community safety, but he argues this goes far beyond that.
We have to also make sure that someone is not being punished before they've had due process and before they've heard their case before a jury or even their evidence analyzed by their defense lawyers.
Pretrial Services does not agree with the lawyer's claims, rejecting the idea that staffing shortages are causing unreasonable delays.
So usually for a normal release on a GPS, it can take anywhere from 24 to 48 hours.
They argue the wait isn't just about putting on a monitor. She says delays are complex, stemming from victim safety checks, city lockup intake, and the sheriff's separate release process.
The county will pay, and it's usually $5 a day for a monitor on anklet on a per defendant. And if you're sitting in jail, though, however, now the cost is about 72.22 cents. So $72, a little bit over $72 to sit in jail a day.
To put that in perspective, the Bexar County Sheriff says holding an inmate can cost taxpayers up to $80 a day. Sheriff Salazar has repeatedly raised this concern. Every extra night an inmate waits in the jail is a bill paid directly by you, the taxpayer.
Anywhere from $60 to $90 a day per inmate. So that's why we want to get people out of here as soon as we possibly can. You know, even if using a conservative number, $70 a day times 3 days, that's $210 that we've now spent incarcerating somebody that should be out and about and going about their business.
Pretrial Services maintains that the monitor company's employees work 24/7, and once their job is done, that is then up to the sheriff's office to release them.
The sheriff has their own process on when and how they release them.
I'm of the opinion that we should find a way to streamline the process. I know that whenever we call it a double magistration process, there's folks that argue against it and say, no, it's not a double magistration process. Whatever it may be, if that system, that process can be streamlined, even 5% of the way, then I'm in favor of doing that. I think it's the fiscally responsible thing to do by way of the taxpayers, and certainly from a human rights perspective.
So, what is the official target? How long should it actually take from the judge's order until a GPS monitor inmate walks free? Pretrial Services says the goal is 24 to 72 hours, and that new positions approved in this year's budget should help. In the meantime, defense attorneys say that they will keep track of cases where their clients have nonviolent charges against them, and they're spending more than $3, 4, and in some cases, they say 7 days behind bars. That costs not only the inmates their job, their families, but you, the taxpayer, money. Yami Virgen, Fox SA.
We have actually seen that the travel growth for the Thanksgiving holiday has gone up for the last 7 years in a row.
And this week, those numbers could break records. How crowded the San Antonio airport is expected to get and how flights are holding up so far. The FAA predicts this to be one of the busiest Thanksgivings for air travel in 15 years. Several airports across the nation are bracing for the influx of travelers. Over at the San Antonio International Airport, as many as 400,000 people will be stopping by between now and Thanksgiving. According to FlightAware, today there have been 27 delays and 0 cancellations. Yesterday, there were 61 delays and 4 cancellations. So it's been a lot smoother today. This comes as officials at the San Antonio airport say they've seen more foot traffic come through over the years.
We have actually seen that the travel growth for the Thanksgiving holiday has gone up for the last 7 years in a row. You know, Thanksgiving's always been a popular time to gather with friends and family, but ever since the pandemic, we have seen that this Thanksgiving holiday in particular, this travel period has just really increased in the overall travel volume.
According to AAA, San Antonio will be among the most visited destination in Texas. So keep that in mind if you plan to travel this week. Expect more people to be out in general, whether it is at the airport or out on the roads. But we want to hear about you and what you think. On our website right now, we're asking if you're traveling this Thanksgiving. Right now, most of you saying no, that you're staying at home. But there is a good portion saying yes, they'll be traveling by car, and only 4% by plane. You can still scan that QR code right there on your screen to weigh in.
And now, first warning weather with Chief Meteorologist Alex Garcia.
Well, if you're going to be traveling tomorrow, get ready. It's going to be a little bit on the chillier side than it was today. We've got a big temperature drop coming in overnight. Plus, it's going to be pretty windy as that pressure starts to build up. We could see gusts up to around 35 miles an hour. And with that big wind and the dryness in the region, that wildfire risk is going up. So the weather impacts generally going to be cold front arriving, about a 15, maybe 16 degree drop. We're going to look at that both Wednesday and Thursday. So dress for some really cool mornings and enjoy the sunshine in the afternoon. Here's what it looks like right now in the downtown World Car Cam. Boy, it looks really pretty out there. But look at these temperatures coming in today. Jeff Bray comes in with a 92 degree reading. 86 here for Marianne Koenig, for Karen Warmon, 89 for Brad Scott, mid 80s for Michael in Belia, lower 80s sitting here for Lakeland. And Richard Gonzalez comes in with an 87 degree reading. Early morning temperatures, cool for John Wall at 43 and Rick Taylor at about 48. Now, all of that's going to change tonight as we get that surge of cold air in here. And typically it really warms up and heats up before that happens. We're looking at mold in the air. It's going down. It's still in the heavy category, but it's down from yesterday. Early in the morning, maybe 6 o'clock, we could be down around 59. That's not going to be the coldest morning. Tomorrow will be, and the day after that, we'll be looking 58 by 8 o'clock, by 6 o'clock. 10 o'clock, we should be into the 60s, but boy, it's going to start to get a little gusty out there. Then as we get into the noon hour, we're hitting 65. We'll do 67 later in the afternoon. So it's going to be a really cool afternoon, but it is going to be windy. And so the low temperatures will drop into the 40s tomorrow night, into that Thursday night, because we'll be looking at radiational cooling that'll take off. Then Saturday, things change dramatically. We get another little front in here, and that means opportunities for rain are going to come back both Saturday and Sunday. There's not going to be a tremendous amount of rain, but that opportunity is going to be there. The thing that we're looking at as we look at the long term, below normal temperatures going all the way into the weekend and stretching into the first week of December, which is pretty good. We're finally cooling down, but guess what happens as we get later in the month? We'll see our temperatures go above the normal. Normal is 69, so that's going to be interesting as we start to warm up about the middle portion of December. We'll come back, talk about how much rain, how much wind, and your Thanksgiving Day forecast.
And happening right now, a new reward of up to $5,000 being offered in an unsolved murder case. And this Thanksgiving will mark 8 years since Kevin Doublechain was killed. So here's what we know. Crime Stoppers now offering that reward of up to $5,000 in this case. San Antonio police saying it was back on November 27, 2017, when investigators found Doublechain had been murdered on the city's east side. Officers found him at a home along Sample Street. This is near South Hackberry. And all these years later, investigators saying they don't know a motive for the murder. Police are hoping that reward money may get someone to start talking to finally solve this 8-year mystery. Anyone with any information asked to call Crime Stoppers. And as always, you can remain anonymous. That is the latest from the Life Desk.
Think about how dangerous that is for people in the community. We're talking about a weapon that can fire 800, 900 rounds a minute.
A simple device can turn a firearm into a weapon that fires hundreds of rounds in less than a minute. Forced reset triggers, once federally banned, now legal and back on the streets. The push to get them out of the hands of potentially dangerous individuals. For Arma? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yes. Unless you want me to back.
Since you want to show your feet, she has to adjust.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you. There's a small device that can enable a firearm to shoot up to 900 rounds a minute. It's called a forced reset trigger. They were seized by law enforcement because they were seen as a threat to public safety. But now they're being given back to their original owners, igniting a firestorm of controversy. Lisa Fletcher reports.
Up to 900 rounds a minute fired with a single squeeze of the trigger, made possible by this, a forced reset trigger, or FRT. It is one of several machine gun conversion devices that make a semi-automatic weapon perform like a fully automatic one.
Is there any question in your mind that these devices turn a rifle into a machine gun?
No doubt that this can convert a semi-automatic into a machine gun.
In 2024, under Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown, the state joined 26 others banning machine gun conversion devices.
When you think about the carnage that a machine gun can inflict in a community, it's made even worse by these machine gun type weapons.
ATF records show machine gun conversion devices are increasingly showing up at crime scenes. From this mass shooting in Towson, Maryland, that killed 1 and injured 8, to the Las Vegas concert, where one man using a bump stock fired more than 1,000 rounds, killing 60 and injuring 413 others. But for nearly a century, machine guns have been essentially illegal under U.S. law. And since 1986, possessing an unregistered machine gun or conversion device has been a federal crime.
These kinds of weapons present a very severe threat to public safety.
Steve Dettelbach led the ATF until January of 2025. He oversaw dozens of operations that seized machine gun conversion devices from violent gangs, criminals, and criminal organizations.
We did a search warrant on a home in New Jersey where the Latin Kings had kilos of drugs and weapons, right? They also had a stash of these machine gun conversion devices, a tool of the trade of gang membership, of drug dealing, of destruction.
But this year, a stunning exemption. After a legal challenge over the ATF's authority to declare FRT's machine guns, the government agreed to a deal to stop enforcing the federal ban on forced reset triggers and even give back more than 12,000 devices seized by ATF. Attorney General Pam Bondi cited the Second Amendment and said the settlement ends needless litigation and enhances public safety. FRT's maker, Rare Breed, didn't respond to our interview request, but has been on a public victory lap.
The fight is over. We won. We did it. We beat the ATF.
Announcing this summer that it sold 6,000 triggers in a 2-week period and that it's aiming to make the FRT a factory standard trigger on AR rifles, as well as making them available for other types of guns. Dettelbach saw the firepower firsthand.
I couldn't just fire one bullet. As quick as I would try to release the trigger, impossible to fire just one bullet. And think about how dangerous that is for people in the community. We're talking about a weapon that can fire 800, 900 rounds a minute. A minute.
Unleashing military-grade firepower, says Dettelbach. That's the reason Congress has long outlawed machine guns and the parts that create them.
If there are things we can do, reasonable things we can do to make sure that Congress's intent is effectuated and that there aren't machine guns being fired willy-nilly like jackhammers in the summer all over American streets, we ought to do them.
For Spotlight on America, I'm Lisa Fletcher.
17 attorneys general filed suit to block the return of FRTs to owners in their states. They were successful, but that won't stop the devices from going back into circulation elsewhere. Forced reset triggers are legal in Texas, but the ATF says they won't return them to people who can't legally own a firearm.
Things are looking a little interesting coming up over the next 24 hours. We've got some wind and we've got some cold air coming. There's no rain. It's all dry. If you're traveling, the biggest travel day, here's what it looks like at the airports right now. We'll be back with the next opportunity of rain.
All right, well, things are getting festive over at the White House. The president and first lady took part in the annual turkey pardoning earlier this afternoon, saving 2 turkeys from becoming Thanksgiving dinner.
Today, we continue a time-honored American tradition. Well, that's a well-trained turkey. See how happy he is?
Yeah, that turkey definitely wanted to talk, right? Trump pardoned Gobble and his sidekick Waddle, who will be heading back to North Carolina to live out the rest of their lives. While things may be cheery at the White House, for many everyday Americans, the holidays might be slightly less joyful this year as affordability remains a top concern.
We're finding ways to make sure that this most important holiday, the consumer can find a value.
We're just talking with all the workers about how expensive it is, and it's crazy.
Estimates vary widely, but the American Farm Bureau Federation finds that 16-pound turkeys are around $21.50, down 16% from last year. A dinner for 10 people is expected to be cheaper than 2 years ago and will cost just a little more than $50, but it's the sides which have gone up in price that will make the meal more expensive. Students at the University of the Incarnate Word won't go hungry this Thanksgiving. UIW, in collaboration with the Arcade Group, gave out blessing boxes to students this morning, which will contain all the fixings they need for a meal.
Really, when we think about everything that's happened this year, especially when we think of the cuts with SNAP and CHIP, the cuts with the federal shutdown, it's really impacted so many of our family and so many of our students. So again, this is our way of giving back.
The blessing boxes contain cans of green beans, pumpkin pie filling, yams, a package of rolls, 2 boxes of stuffing mix, and a turkey. This is the 4th year the school has hosted this event. Well, it is almost time for Thanksgiving and that turkey, but it still doesn't feel like it, right?
Not yet, not yet. It will feel like it tomorrow. Trust me, we've got a big temperature drop coming in overnight. Tomorrow was one of those days when you're looking at what? It's 80 degrees, 85, 86, and 92 for Jeff Bray. But tomorrow we're looking at this big temperature drop that's going to be moving into the region. This is what the pattern will look like. We'll start in the 50s. We'll climb. We might get 68 later in the afternoon. Now that's a big drop from today. On top of that, we've got a lot of wind that's going to be coming up tomorrow. Get ready for the wind. Boy, we're going to be watching it. It is going to be a gusty day. These wind gusts are going to get up there 20 to 25 miles an hour early in the morning. Then as we get through the day, we'll see it kind of back off a little bit out to the west, but it'll still be pretty breezy even by noon out across the region with 19 to 23 mile an hour gusts. Then later in the afternoon, maybe around 3 or 4 o'clock, it really starts to back down. So the early part of the day is going to be the breezy part of the day. Then as we get into later, we could hit 68, maybe 67 down south of us, so down to Corpus, maybe into Alice, maybe over to Cotulla. Temperatures there will be a little warmer into the 70s overall. Then overnight, things really get cold because we have little wind, we have little moisture in the air and no clouds, and the temperatures early in the morning on Thursday drop down into the mid 40s. So yeah, it's going to be a cold morning on Thursday, a cold morning coming up on Friday, and then guess what happens? We get an opportunity for rain coming back on Saturday. We'll be watching another front as it starts to dive in. Look at the cold air behind it. It dives into the region. This maybe starts up a little bit of some rain and then continues down, but it brings us another surge of that cool, dry air. The amount of rain, well, it's there, but it's not going to be a tremendous amount. We're looking at isolated little showers that could pop up, and the opportunity for rain will stay pretty low. Otherwise, we're looking 50s climbing back up. And the long-term period says, yeah, it's going to be below normal going all the way into the first week of December.
A former San Antonio area high school football star finds himself suspended without pay for his role in the Panthers 49ers dust-up. Chuck is coming up in Max Sports.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Okay.
One of Netflix's most popular and original shows is finally coming to an end. Season 5 of the hit series Stranger Things is being released tomorrow.
We're really starting to lose it. Being stuck in here. No end in sight. You find Vecna. We end this once and for all. Together.
Season 5 picks up with the main characters' fight against an evil entity that threatens to destroy the world and bring the upside down into the real world. The final season will be released to give fans something to enjoy this holiday season. Volume 1 releases tomorrow in time for Thanksgiving. Volume 2 debuts Christmas Day and the series finale on New Year's Eve. And you said you watch it.
Yeah, I've watched it from the very beginning. And, you know, you've seen the actors actually grow up throughout that series. Really interesting. All right, what's in the air? Just mold. Good news, it's high, but it's coming down. Thanksgiving Day forecast, hey, not bad, 67.
All right, Chuck, you know the big game I am rooting for coming
Well,
up?
let me guess. Would you be talking about the Longhorns, perhaps?
Yes, indeed.
Well, I must say I am shocked, not at all. Up next, a visit with the #1 Johnson Jags before they take on Steele in the playoffs. Reasons why both the Aggies and Longhorns should feel confident going in. Trinity football and soccer advancing in the playoffs, and CeeDee Lamb owning his drops, but he's closing in on a very dubious Cowboys record if it continues. Next.
You're watching Maximum Sport, only on Fox SA.
Texas leads the all-time series by a wide margin. They also won the reboot last year, but the Aggies beat the Horns the last time the game was in Austin. Super easy, though, to put all the history aside because of what it means for both teams this Friday. Texas's playoff hopes are on life support, and the Aggies need a win in order to clinch a spot in the SEC championship. Arch and the Horns, 35th in the nation in passing. A&M's defense ranks 27th against the run and 23rd against the pass. The Aggies, 25th in rushing. The Horns have the 8th best defense against the run, not so good against the pass. I speak for many, though, when I say Friday can't get here soon enough.
I'm sure their fans are excited about it, but I know our players are too. It's a heck of a challenge. It's a really good football team, and they're really good in all three phases.
What did you tell the players this week to get their focus to maintain on this game, that this is the challenge ahead?
Oh, I don't have to tell them very much. I think they're pretty much clear on this one. This is an easy one to get their attention for.
Darn right it is. Aggies a 2.5-point favorite. Texas Tech dropped a spot this week in the top 25 during the bye, but they will end their regular season on Saturday at West Virginia, trying to get to the Big 12 championship game. Well, a couple of key things the Cowboys were able to overcome in order to get that Philly win. Number one, coming up empty on 4th down with a game tied and under 5 minutes left to go. And number two, 3 drops by CeeDee Lamb. According to ESPN, that's now 8 on the season for the star receiver. 1 off the Cowboys' record set by Dez Bryant 13 years ago. Admirable, though, that CeeDee's owning all of it and says it's an easy thing to fix.
It's really just lack of focus on my end, honestly, just thinking of doing 2 before 1, and there's been plenty of that going on. And by that, I mean I'm thinking about my next move before catching the ball and things of that nature. It's not really much on anybody else but myself, and I've never been the type to really point the finger. But, yeah, it's all on me, and I got to handle that.
Well, the 49ers did the Cowboys a solid by knocking off the Panthers. Our very own Trayvon Merrick also giving new meaning to the term ball-hawking DB. Not sure what precipitated Trayvon hitting Jawan Jennings below the belt, but after the game, Jennings not only slugged Trayvon, but also got in to a little bit of a pushing match there with a couple of other 49ers on his way off the field. The NFL wasted little time on this one. Trayvon suspended without pay for 1 game, but he can appeal. Coming up on Thanksgiving, we got the early game here on Fox SA. Packers and Lions both chasing the Bears in the north. Texans are at the Colts on Sunday. We've got a bunch of big football games around town here too this week. None bigger than Johnson and Steele. The Jags ran the table, the only 6A team in the area, ending the year without a loss. Steele's only loss was to a team out of town. 2 of the biggest brands in the area squaring off on Friday afternoon. And who amongst us isn't interested in finding out who comes out on top?
No, we're just playing our best football right now, you know. We're on fire, really pumped up to play these games. That's what's different.
We're all good friends. We got that chemistry, and we go out there and play together. We're not the biggest, we're not the strongest, but we got that friendship. So that's what given us the success this year.
I'm excited for it. I'm excited for our community, excited for our school. Like I said, I think it's been 2013 or 2016 since the last time Johnson's been able to do this, and so we're just trying to keep that tradition alive.
And we'll visit with the Knights tomorrow. Star running back Jonathan Hatton flipped his commitment back to OU today. But it's Johnson and Steele Friday afternoon at Gus. Medina Valley gets Dripping Springs Friday at 2 o'clock from Ferris Stadium. In Big 5A, the defending state champs Smithson Valley gets Piper Friday afternoon. Another glorious matchup there. Same for Champion and New Braunfels. Bernie and Alamo Heights, both still alive as well. Up next, football and football at Trinity, both on fire right after this.
Yeah, this is Slash, and you're watching Maximum Sports.
This is the Thomas J. Henry Sports Desk. This is the Thomas J. Henry Sports Desk.
Absolutely no problems for the Trinity soccer team so far in these NCAA playoffs to this point. They're already in the Final Four now, and they have yet to surrender a single goal in this entire Division III postseason. So up next, they get Emory, Salem, Virginia. That's going to be on the campus of Roanoke College. Trinity actually has a slightly better record than their next opponent, both teams with 1 losses, but Emory's got a bunch of ties. And Trinity trying to become the first national champion in that sport since the school last had one in 2023. That national semifinal is a week from Friday at 5:30. Trinity's football squad had 20 players named all-conference today, and they're all still playing ball games on the grid. It's round 2 of the D3 football tournament, and the Tigers are hosting next Hardin-Simmons this coming Saturday afternoon. Now, both teams 9-1, and this will be the first meeting between these two squads since the 2023 season. Tigers, by the way, have won the last 2 times against these guys. Hardin-Simmons has 16 players from our area, so a lot of familiar faces playing for high stakes.
Fast, but knowing us, we're physical. We're going to hit them first. Definitely stop their run and the secondary to take care of the pass, but definitely physicality and speed.
You have no one else on campus. It's just a real bonding experience, and it really brings us all together, and we get to go play ball. That's all that matters.
We've got a veteran team in some spots. We've got some young guys in some spots. So sometimes you want to keep playing and keep the momentum, but I think for us right now, kind of to get some guys healthy, the fact that Hardin-Simmons earned a bye, they're an incredible football team. So both of us are attacking this game coming off of a bye week. So we've both had that challenge of trying to keep momentum while not, under preparing, but without getting stale in the preparation too. So again, it's equal footing, but I like it for our guys.
And a nice San Antonio area stronghold on the Trinity guys' side, obviously, but same for Hardin-Simmons. They've got like 16 fellas from the San Antonio area playing in this game that's coming up at noon on Saturday. And UTSA, they're trying to make sure they end the season with a winning record. They're going to face Army, which will also be a homecoming for roughly a half dozen of their players. Army trying to get over the 500 mark this season. All right, y'all. That is tonight's Max Sports. We'll see you later, everybody.
Hey, mic check 1 2 1 2 3 4 5. Hello, hello, hello.
Now can you hear me? Tonight, fire spreads through a home, killing 3 people inside. We take a look at what's been left behind. Plus, a new warning on porch thefts as we approach the holidays. What authorities say you should do now to keep your packages safe. And the holiday rush officially on. See what travelers are dealing with at the airport next.
Covering the Triad and beyond. This is ABC 45 News at 11.
Well, good evening and thank you for staying up with us for ABC 45 News at 11. I'm Ashley Paredes. We're going to go over to Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Wendt. He has your no-wait weather. Jonathan.
Hey Ashley, not too bad of a night, mainly dry right now, but we are now starting to see some of those rain showers moving in. Much of the Triad has been dry with temperatures into the 50s this evening. You can see the rain moving into parts of Wilkes County, into Davie County, into Yadkin County as well. We will continue to see these rain showers moving in overnight with a cold front approaching by tomorrow. You'll notice here overnight through tomorrow morning, we will have those scattered showers. Can't completely rule out an isolated thunderstorm, but mainly just scattered rain showers, then warming up into the low 70s ahead of the second cold front that'll bring in much colder temperatures for Thanksgiving. Your full forecast here in a few minutes.
An 18-year-old Winston-Salem student is in custody after a weapon was found in his possession. On Tuesday, police responded to Winston-Salem Street School, an alternative high school for the district, after staff discovered a gun on campus. Officers arresting Charles Green, charging the teen with 3 crimes, including possession of a gun on educational property. He's being held on a $15,000 bond. A drug bust in Archdale lands 4